I would call that, the way you describe the scene, I would call those things epiphany.
Yeah.
At the end, I call it epiphany. Even in your own experience, you know, you fall in love with a girl, with a woman. By the time you realize that you're in love, that's epiphany.
Yeah.
There's this orgasmic stage where you just float into this zone, and you knew there's something special. The same with the scene. If you frame it well, not really well, but frame it truthfully, you just want to catch things. Somehow, there's epiphany in the end. I believe in that. I believe in that. If you just be honest with the framing. If you don't manipulate it. It's the same with life. If you don't manipulate life, just let it flow and be cool about it. There's epiphany. There's epiphany. A feeling of this orgasmic state. A different soul where you feel really human, humanly beautiful, humanly sad. You know, all those things. You feel that. That's why it's a good insight what you said there.
It's also something the filmmaker talks about in Batang West Side.
Yeah, I use that. I didn't want to use epiphany because it's really hard for some people. Epiphany, what's epiphany?
Yeah,
what orgasm?
Everybody knows.
But you know, it's true.
Yeah,
You bring you in a different zone. Tarkovsky calls the zone, but I call it epiphany.
Yeah.
Epiphany. With Brisson, it's like that also. Somehow, something's gonna hit you hard. And it's like, you float. My God, this work. This guy is very human. He sees a lot about life. He understands life so well. That's why they're great.
Yeah.
Brisson, Tarkovsky, Bergman. They have a deep, deep understanding of life. A very deep understanding of life. Just like Dostoevsky, James Joyce, Rilke, all these great artists, man. Michelangelo, the way he creates things. There's epiphany always, there's epiphany, despite the struggle and the hardships. You know, it's there, it's there, it's there, it's always there. I could go back, no? We were under Spain for like more than 300 years. From the 16th century up to the late 19th century, that's up to 1898, when the Americans finally came. And the Americans ruled us up to 1992. Actually. We had our mock independence in July 1946, but it's a mock independence because they still ruled us.
Yeah.
And they have the bases there. They intervene in our political system and structure. Every Filipino president become the puppets.
Yeah, of the Americans.
Yeah. And then we were a Commonwealth of America up to 1946, since 1901 to 46. So from a very Hispanic origin, for more than 300 years, we were forced to swallow this very American system, educational Thomasite system, the so-called American democracy. They created the Commonwealth. We have a puppet government. So we adopted the system. Even the Constitution was patterned after the American Constitution. And then in World War II, we were under Japan for 4 years. It was a very brutal condition. We were brutalized by the Japanese. And then when the war ended, the Commonwealth continued, of course. And then it was a series of puppet governments. And then when Marcos came, it's 24 years of dictatorship.
It started when exactly?
1964.
Okay, 64 to 88.
1986.
86. Okay.
The EDSA revolution, the People's Power Revolt. So after Marcos, we have the so-called transitory governments from Kino to Ramos, and then we have Era Estrada, the actor president, who lasted only 2 years, and he was deposed by another uprising in exile, a People's Power revolt again, and now it's Macapagal and Arroyo.
Yeah.
So these are all, after Marcos, these are all transitory governments,
Yes.
because we inherited a lot of the anomalies that was committed, or we embraced under the Marcos regime. So, in spite of the U.S. and the Spanish colonization and the Japanese brutalization of World War II, we consider the Marcos era as the darkest period of our history, because we have a Filipino brutalizing us, terrorizing us for like 24 years. Yeah. He stole a lot of our money. He practically killed a lot of brilliant young minds, future leaders, and he imprisoned all his political rivals, especially Ninoy Aquino, who eventually was killed in 1983 when he came back from the US after having surgery, and also Pepe Diokno, another political leader, who was imprisoned also. So it was like that. It is a very complicated history for Filipinos, from the Spanish to the Americans, and then the Japanese, and then the Marcos dictatorship. So now we have a very complicated culture, again from the Spanish culture that we embraced to the imposition of the American culture, which is very influential now. It's very Western and very American. The way Filipinos think now is very American. Everything that we do is always, there's always this American model or paradigm. Yes. The music, cinema, Hollywood is a big model for Filipinos. The way we dress, the way we talk, even our press, the way we write, it's always modeled after American. And Filipinos, if they want to get out of the Philippines, it's always America. It's the, of course, the Middle East now, and Europe also. So that's our history, political history, more or less. It's very complicated. And we have a democracy now, the so-called democracy, a system which is very corrupt and a very status quo viewing system, because the system now it just protects the status quo. Yeah, and they're all businessmen, they're all rich, the novel rich, but 80% or 60% of the masses, who is below the poverty line, there's no services actually. Imelda, his son, her son, her daughter, they're cronies before. They're still the big businessmen. Okay. And then some cabinet members during the Marcos years, they're still there. They're still around. So again, it's another anomaly of our culture. We don't know how to what to do with the justice system. Yes. Like Imelda is still scot-free, she's still dancing. The military leaders, just like Mijares in Batang West Side, who tortured a lot of people, they killed a lot of, these were the henchmen of Marcos. They were all over the place in America and the Philippines, they're still there. There's no justice actually. And we have a very short memory about this. Just last month, this show, Imelda, the documentary. Yes. And it was really, embarrassing and demeaning for us. The Filipinos didn't realize this. They were queuing, they were lining, they were watching Imelda, and they were laughing. So
they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the joke is on us. We were laughing at Imelda. We told them, look, this woman practically is a criminal. But we were laughing, we were enjoying her now. We forgot what she did. We forgot what the regime did to us. We have a very short memory about this. That's why, one of the reasons we Batang West Side. We call ourselves the martial law babies. We grew up during martial law. So when I was a young kid, the early years of Marcos, he was a big hero of the Filipinos. It was a myth that he created himself with his propaganda. He produced this film about himself as a big hero, and he won via landslide. I mean, I was growing up I could see that people really believed in him. But then on the side, you can see things are happening really on the wrong side. And when I was in high school, you know, in our place, in the southern Philippines, it's a Muslim area.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see all these military people. So every time there's a plebiscite or a referendum on issues or an election, the military would knock on your door and they would just scare people. I saw military people pointing guns at my parents and telling them, tomorrow, if there's a vote against Marcos in this barrio, in this village, I'm gonna get it, guys. It's always like that.
Okay.
So if every time there's a referendum or an election, 0 for the other side. It's always Marcos. So you can see there's something wrong, but people are just quiet about it. Everything exploded in 1970 and 1971. It was the first quarter storm.
Mm-hmm.
The left finally had a strong, base in the campuses and the masses. So they started bloody and chaotic demonstrations. At the same time, the Muslim rebellion exploded also in Mindanao.
Mm-hmm.
There. So he finally imposed martial law in 1971, September 21 of 1971. The suppression, the oppression started really hard. He imprisoned a lot of political people, or even if you're just a suspect, you get imprisoned or just go missing. It became so brutal. But it was a silent thing. Nobody's talking about it. It was just Lino, actually.
Only Lino Brocka, yeah.
Lino Brocka started doing those things because he was an activist.
Yeah.
He's part of the student uprising.
Yeah.
He was quite old when Marshall was there, and he started doing films about the struggle. To voice out what's happening, to make people see that there's something wrong with our system.
Yeah.
We should check this fascistic regime. But he did it in a very subtle way. It was very dangerous then. It's very dangerous.
You couldn't say it openly, so to speak. You had to,
So when I was in college, 1975, that's the first time I saw a Lino Brocka film.
Yeah.
I saw Manila sa Kukunang Liwanag. It was an assignment given to us. But then it was not against martial law.
Mm-hmm.
It was about the issue of being poor and then, being, trapped in this poverty.
Yeah.
But he was trying to tell us that, there's poverty because there's this rotten system.
Of course.
So he started doing that in a very subtle way. That's the Lino Brocka way. But he was very active in, the left activism. He was very active, Lino Brocka. So I was in college when Lino Brocka really exploded in the scene. He was doing these films. Yeah. The first wave that went to America are scholars. They sent Filipino intellectuals to study in America, and then they came back as educators. So their perspective is very American. And then of course, when in the 70s, when martial law got so strong and poverty has become a way of life, the peso is weakening, so people started going out, and America is the place. It's very American. I mean, the perspective of redeeming yourself, getting the proverbial greener pasture.
Yeah.
It's America, the promised land, America. The West Point.
Yeah.
Every brilliant young man in the Philippine Military Academy is sent to the West Point.
Mm-hmm.
And during the Marcos years, he actually trained a lot of brilliant young military people how to torture, young intellectuals in the left for activism. So Mijares is a very real character, especially Batch 71 of the Philippine Military Academy. They were trained to penetrate the deep penetration agents. They were trained to penetrate the progressive groups in the campuses or any front of the left or any activist group. They were trained to penetrate that. and they kill, just torture people. People will go missing, students. Mihalis is a very real character. And when martial law ended, when Marco is gone, they disappeared.
Yeah.
And some people went to America and they have these plastic surgeries, they changed their names. It's a very real character. I met some people there in America like that. Because when I was editing in 1992, by accident, I went to America because one of my documentaries was part of this tour about street kids. When I got to New York, Filipino community people invited me to be one of their editors. So I stayed in America, in Jersey City. And I used to hang out in this Filipino bar, and I met these guys. And one night I was with this group of people, and then suddenly this middle-aged guy started telling us that, I'm a Marcos torturer. I had this plastic surgery, and I killed a lot of students. I was talking like, because he was drunk, and I said, I was shocked, oh my God. And I realized there are a lot of them in America. They were hiding there, they changed their names. So one of the germs, inspiration of the story of Batang West Side is that accidental, meeting. I met this guy. And in the Shabu thing, I lived in a house in Jersey City where a couple, a Filipino young couple, were staying. And they were really addicted into this shabu.
Yeah.
They started talking to me about shabu. Because shabu is very Filipino. It started in Manila, but it came from China.
Mm-hmm. The drug.
Yeah, it came from China and it became very popular in Manila. And then slowly but very real, it became big in the Filipino community in America. It started in LA and then in San Francisco and then in New York, because there's a big, concentration of Filipino communities. Jersey City, we have like 40,000 Filipinos.
40,000?
Yeah, Jersey City alone. These are just the listed ones. And then I realized the Shabu thing is very real. That's another inspiration of the film. So I just integrated all those, realities that we had in America. And of course, the very basic reason why Filipinos go to America is, of course, to get that money and send it home to feed the families. So I just integrated those realities. The Filipino condition, the Filipino struggles, and then, of course, Filipino socio-political condition. You have to integrate all those things. And overriding all this story would be the collective guilt that we have about, forgetting what the Spanish had done to us, what the Americans had done to us, what the Japanese had done to us, and then what the Marcoses had done to us. We forget all these things. And we have this collective guilt of killing the Filipino ourselves because we forgot to get justice. We cannot redeem our souls because of that. We just forget it. We just hang out in the beaches and, watch the sunset whole day. We forget all those crimes that was perpetrated in our souls. And it's very apathetic in our culture, really. Whenever people like me talk about these things, people are afraid. Hey, they would tell you, please stop talking, it's very dangerous.
Yeah, okay.
I said, why? It's already 2004, 2003. Why do we have to be silent, man? And then, of course, we cannot show Batang West Side because there's no theater who would take the film. You have to pay the theaters. Just like few people who watch it. But of course, every time we had a chance to talk on TV or in the papers, we talk about it. We attack the Marcos, we attack the Americans, we attack the Japanese. It's not a vengeful act. We just wanted people to realize that we have to examine the past. We have to examine history. We have to confront all the anomalies that that was inflicted in our culture. We just needed to do that. That's the role of the artist in the Philippines right now, to be very responsible about all these things. You cannot relax and say that, oh, I'm a great artist. No, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
Be very, very responsible with your work. That's what we are doing. But there's just a few of us. That's the thing. A lot of people are just doing commercial works. They buy their new houses, mansions, and Mercedes Benzes, and BMWs, and it's pathetic to see all these things. Yeah, it's pathetic. Really. It's sad. And the saddest thing is, When you go out of the country, people like you admire the works, but we are sad because we needed to show it to Filipinos.
The home, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the saddest thing. You know, a lot of critics all over the world just, oh, your film is great, but my God, in the Philippines, you don't even watch it. You can't even watch it. I don't want to be very didactic about it.
Yeah.
That's why I needed to show a real story. It's hard to do a propaganda work.
Yeah.
It's better to do fiction and integrate all the ideas, the philosophies, the principles. That's why we have to tell stories with real characters. It's hard to be very didactic. You'll be accused of agitprop or anything. Yeah, that's the thing. We needed to show it to Filipinos. That's the real struggle with these works, with Batang West Side, with Evolution, Jesus Revolutionario. We needed to show it to Filipinos. Just for them to realize that we needed to examine our past. We needed to examine what had happened to us so that we can move forward as a culture, as a people.
Yeah.
We needed to do that. Yeah, this is the thing. I have to show real people, that's why.
Yeah.
I cannot do again, I cannot copy the Hollywood paradigm model of, having happy endings.
Yeah.
It's like what we saw yesterday. Like, oh, these are very real. A lot of people that you met that struggle are really, fatalistic about all these things, or they have tragic endings, or pessimistic view of the world, or they were just imprisoned in this condition that they couldn't do anything. Hansel Harana,
Yep.
he was trapped in this condition, a very emotional, psychological, and couldn't understand what's happening. And you have the mother, who is very practical, but at the same time, she knew that she practically destroyed her family.
Yeah.
And you have a father who couldn't do anything. He was helpless. He couldn't do anything but wait for a dead son to come home, and he loses the family. He loses the family. And you have a grandfather who is very philosophical about everything, but he lives abroad.
Yeah.
These are very real characters again. So what do we need to do? The film is just saying that we need to have discourse. We have to discuss what happened to these characters. We have to discuss the fate of the Filipino. What do we need to do? It's actually, if you just look at the characters, it's quite pessimistic. It's quite unfortunate. It's sad. But then again, if you have to examine, it's hopeful, because we needed to change things. Yeah, we needed to change things. You have to embrace the struggle of these people to be able to move, to understand the struggle of the Filipino. If you see the foreboding thing of Batang West Side, it's always cold.
Yeah.
And I made it dark to make Filipinos realize that it's not Disneyland.
Yeah.
This is a very sad country. This is not our place. This is not our place. This is not our milieu. This is not our locale. We are a very different culture. So, practically, I showed a very dark and cold place. But it's not about attacking American
of course.
culture. Yeah.
It's
show
about
the Filipinos that
the wrong idea that you just have to go to America and everything is.
It's not our place. Of course, it's right to find money anywhere. But then, if you have a very dysfunctional family at home, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
So what do we have? If only we can have a discourse about all this, we can really check and thread everything, and then you can find out, Filipinos can find out that we have a very corrupt system, a very wrong system that doesn't really work for the masses. It is being established just to protect the status quo, the powerful people. So we need to change these things. And the thing is, we couldn't even elect a good leader.
Yeah.
We couldn't even, examine these people every time we have elections, every time we have discourse. People wouldn't talk. We were just tired. We wouldn't care. We take things for granted. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's about our collective guilt.
Yeah.
I wrote it in 1996. It was actually a commissioned work.
Mm-hmm.
A very young producer from the Philippines went to New York and then she heard that I was in New York, so she asked me to write a script about. It's not about Filipino struggle, because she's a producer. Can you write something about this young boy? Okay, I can write something about that. So I wrote the script. Of course, because of my background, I can write things like that. I know the character, so I wrote the script. And she wanted to produce that film for the Filipino superstar Nuro and her son. So yeah, so we can do that. And then, finally the script was done. He was shocked. He said, "This is very political. This is very." He wanted to change things. I said, "No, I cannot change things." So she withdrew because we were about to shoot 3 months later.
Yeah.
So I kept the script. And then in 1997, when I went back to the Philippines, we had this Palanca competition every year. This is the highest literary award giving body in Manila. I just threw it there and it won. So there were interest from different producers. Even Lili Monteverde, Mother Lily was interested, but they couldn't give me the budget that I wanted, so I kept it again. Then when I was already shooting some works for Regal, and I was shooting Evolution protractedly every time I have money and my friend had money, I accidentally met Tony Villoya,
the producer of...
Yeah, in this small coffee shop. And it was like, he looks like this, beaten up farmer in the corner with some of my friends. He said, Tony Villoya is a new producer. He was looking for a script for his new actor. I said, yeah, I have a script for... How old is he? He said, it's about 18, 19. I have a script. So I gave him Batang West Side. And then I thought he was just joking.
Yeah.
Then the following week, when I was leaving for Berlin, the Berlin Festival, it was Naked Under the Moon is part of the forum. And he called me up, I'm gonna pay your script. So he paid me. And that's it, I thought it's just that. So I went to Berlin. And then I went to visit my kids in New York. And then when I was in New York, he called me up, he said, start pre-production, we're shooting. Oh, it's okay. So that's it. But we have a lot of problems. It took us more than a year before we can start again. Because, he's still looking for money by then. 10 million pesos. Yeah. It's so small. But it's okay, because I just have like 6 people in my crew, and the actors, and some friends in New York they helped a lot. We stayed in our house at first, in the first few months, and then my wife kicked us out, my ex-wife, and then we stayed in another friend. He gave the house for free. So there's a lot of help going on from Filipinos and some independent filmmakers in New York. So I was able to make it. For 2 years, I was able to make it. The actual shoot is just more than 2 months. But the preparation is long. So you're waiting for, there's a lot of, things, a lot of things happen. Some people would come in, and then some people couldn't get their visas, and some people would go home, and then you change them again. Yeah. My God, it's chaos. And then a week before I had to shoot, the cameraman left, the assistant cameraman left, the assistant director left. So my God, you have to reorganize things fast. Yeah, good thing they were friends. They came in just in time before the shoot. So and then I got a lot of flack when I was preparing it and doing it. Some people are just trashing me when it was like, you couldn't do that work. It's just crazy. But we finished it anyhow. Yeah. Somehow, it's a fulfilled work. It's my first fulfilled work, actually. So aesthetically. Because I wasn't limited by time. I was able to, fulfill the vision.
Yes.
To fulfill the vision. It's very organic. Because the script is like 160 scenes. It's quite long.
Yes.
If you have to do it in a very Hollywood standard of computing things, it's just be like almost 3 hours. But when I was shooting it, I didn't think about it anymore. I was like, I gotta do something organic now, something free. So I just shot and shot. But of course, I keep it modestly. Yeah. Every scene has to be shot. There's like in a ratio of 1:2.
Yes.
Beyond 2 takes, I couldn't do it because we don't have money that much. So it's just 2 takes, long takes, you know. And we didn't use lights.
Yeah, it's only
No
available lights.
No lights,
Yeah.
available lights. But we have a very good stock. It's the 500 ASA.
Oh no, it looks great.
Yeah, 500 ASA is good. You just don't use light, it's okay. Just push it back 2. So it's okay. We tested that. Yeah, it was a fulfilled work in terms of it's being free. When I was cutting it, I just put things together. No manipulation whatsoever. I just want to do that freely, just like a canvas where you're painting freely. But I believe that, you know, it's working really well by then. And when I was able to finish the 5-hour cut, you know, the producers, Tony Beloy and Jurij they were shocked.
Yeah.
They were like, we couldn't show that. They were like, so behind my back, we were fighting for 6 months. Behind my back, they cut a 3-hour version, but it's only in video.
Yeah.
They cut it and they showed it to people. But of course, the people would say, "Oh, we want the 5-hour version."
Yeah.
And they backed out. And then I asked them to, you know, just give the film some chance.
Yeah.
Why don't we show it to people? So when we showed it at the scene in Manila, they were shocked because, you know, the people came. You have to drive away people. You know. Anyway, the theater is just small, 300 people. But they're just standing, some people are just lying there, it's like a counting. And then when we showed it in Singapore, it got the Best Picture award. In Brussels, Best Picture. So they believed after that. And of course, the review from Variety.
Yeah,
okay,
they're on the shy.
and then the reviews in Manila also. And then the people from Europe started doing underground. Like, oh, I saw this video. Okay, they believed after that. I said, oh, thank you guys. The film survived because of that. Tony's, you know, he's a very nice guy, very kind guy, but sometimes very shaky in his, you know, moods. One time we had a fight. I said, why don't we just burn the film? What? It's crazy. Are you crazy? Yeah, so, you know. But this Tony, if he only has money, if he can have the money that he needed, he will be a very good producer for independents like me. Because now he knew that he can do something also. Because he realized that, you know, there's a need for creating a culture of good cinema.
Yeah.
Good works.
Independent
yeah.
Filipino cinema, so to speak.
Realize now, that there's a need for that, there's a dearth. Yeah.
But this is a very small community, I would guess, people who try to make independent films. I mean, Mike De Leon still does it, so to speak. But he only shoots very occasionally, I think.
He has become very silent by now.
Yeah.
But I'm very thankful because he's keeping the master of blood hours.
Yeah.
There are 2 prints.
Yeah, and even the negative, it's in his room.
Yeah.
He's in his room, and he watched the film alone. Yeah, and it's like, he's protecting the film. I'm very glad. Because when I created that, also I was struggling. I wanted to define my role as an artist in Manila, in the Philippines. I wanted to define that. I wanted to have a definitive stand. Like, what am I gonna be? Am I gonna be a commercial director?
Yeah.
Am I gonna be a true artist?
Yeah.
For my people, for the struggle of my people. So I created Tagatimo for that. But it's a nice insight that you saw that, you know, that somehow you see yourself like him watching all the characters now.
First recording the blood and the murder, and then all of a sudden becoming interested in the people.
That scene defined it.
Yeah.
It came to the murder scene and then just shooting the blood, the gore.
Yeah.
And then this guy who's really fake pushed him out. I really love that scene because it really defined my role. I wanted to be a part of everything that's happening. The blood that's split in my culture, I wanted to show that.
Yeah.
So that defined my stand. All those references is a homage to the masters, to their visions.
Yeah.
That we needed to, you know, level our standards and works to them.
Yes.
You know, I was telling people, you know, every Filipino cinema now must be on the level of Insyang, of Himala, of Bats 81, all these works. you know, we couldn't go down.
No. Yeah.
You know, they did these works for us. We couldn't just embarrass them. We couldn't demean their, you know, their legacy to us, you know. And at the same time, that scene where he confessed, you know, it's like, let us, you know, say the truth now.
Yeah.
I was pleading for his people. And at the same time, I was also showing the role of cinema, you know. You can show the truth, you can show the truth. This is cinema now. It's a good medium, it's a powerful medium to see truth in our culture. So I guess I fulfilled that thing. I thank you, you realized that. I was inspired by one view of Tarkovsky about cinema. When he was, there's this part of the Sculpting in Time book here. His struggle to do, what's this, the stalker?
Yeah.
His struggle for the stalker is to catch real time, to catch the truth. So I was inspired by those lines. So whenever I started with all my works with that dictum that I have to catch the truth, I have to catch real time. As much as possible, I want to catch the truth. So I'm going for that always, with the characters, with the frame. So I don't want to manipulate, I don't want to use that. I don't want to manipulate the scene. I don't want to manipulate the characters. Everything's free for me, everything's free. Even the framing, I frame it myself, but then, just like what you said, I won't expect anything. I'll let it free. That's why they're long, especially if you watch Evolution now.
Yeah.
They're really long and a lot of surprises happen. Also, I was inspired by Jack Tate.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
His works are like that. He frames, if you watch his works, Jack Tate, you cannot just see one thing happening.
No,
you see a lot in the frame. You see a lot. Just like what your experience with Batang West Side. Every time I watch it, I was like, oh my God, I didn't see that before. Yeah. you were surprised at how truthful he creates it, no matter how satiric the scene is.
Yes.
But you can see things. You can see through it. The truth. You can see the truth
of human behavior.
So I was inspired by those works, the works of Tate and the struggle of Tarkovsky to get the truth. We were deprived in the Philippines of so many things, literature, cinema, of course. A lot of this cultural thing. You have to struggle to find him in Manila. You can find him in people who got out of the country and they went back. Yeah. So when I was transported in New York, I started doing that, buying a lot of books in the streets, and then finally I couldn't step in my room. It's full of books, full of VHS. And then I started throwing things again. I said, I gotta focus. So I created my own school. Yeah. I created my own film school. I said, for the first 3 months, I have to watch Fellini. Yeah. The next 3 months, I have to watch Kurosawa. It's so good. I created that own school. Yeah. And then this first 3 months, I have to read, you know, James Joyce. I have to read Dostoevsky. You have to struggle to do that. So I focus on that instead of just collecting. Yeah. I created my own school while working. So it's a culture of deprivation that I fulfilled when I got to America. Sadly, you know, it's a lot of artists in the Philippines are like that. They're deprived of so many things. So they were like limited in some things. They thought that cinema is just Hollywood. They thought that literature is just, you know,
some bestsellers.
Just the bestsellers. Yeah. But now it's all over the place because of the pirates. Yeah. You can see Tarkovsky now in the streets. You can see Fellini. So there's this cultural revolution being done by the pirates. it's another unfortunate situation. So the morality of having pirates now is kaput, man. It's okay. Every time I do things, Dostoevsky is on top. He's on top every day. He's such an amazing artist.
He's great. Yeah.
I owe him a lot. He gave me everything. My father introduced me because he's fanatic of anything Russian. Even my name is Russian. La Frente is Russian. Yeah, so everything is Russian. I inherited that. And I rediscovered Russian literature again in college, Crime and Punishment. My first film, Ang Kriminal ng Body Concepcion, was inspired by Crime and Punishment. Yeah. There's a lot. Even some characters in what's this, in Burger Boys, he's from Notes from Underground, all those things. Man. So Dostoevsky's always on top. Yeah, he's always on top. The very psychological things about the characters, the gloom, the sadness, the very spiritual, thing hovering over the culture of Catholics like us, like you guys. So it's all there. So the guilt.
Yeah.
The guilt. The guilt of being human. The guilt of eating a lot of sugar, man. Yeah. The guilt of eating a lot of sugar. To be able to really do good works that would represent your culture, or even your own culture as an individual, it's good. I mean, you need that. A good historical perspective, your past, your country's past, and the tool, like read good literature. It's better than having just cameras or understanding lenses and lights. It's better to just read Rilke, Edgar Allan Poe, Hemingway, Dostoevsky, That's why every time I talk to young people, I say, read poetry, man. If you want to have good images, read poetry.
Yeah.
Just read good poetry. You don't have to buy all the lenses in the lab and then show it to people. Oh, I have this, I can make great film. Fuck you. You cannot make great film out of those lenses. No. I can always use the camera that was used by, Charlie Chaplin and come up with a good work because you have a good understanding of life. A worldview, a philosophy in life is always taken from me. The way I see it, from understanding my past, my people's history, and reading a lot of good literature. I always have to go back to that. Reading a lot of good cinema, and watching a lot of good cinema, reading a lot of criticism, understanding the philosophies of people like Buddha, Tarkovsky, Fellini, Brisson. You have to understand all their views, why they are so stubborn with their aesthetics. Why do we have to have an aesthetic stand? You don't even understand that. Yeah. You need to have a good aesthetic stand and a philosophical stand to be able to create good work.